What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations. 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers. It's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that team since 2020, we've reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000, not 300,000. We just did some fact checking. 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers. As always, I like to say, you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. What else do I do? I'm also a featured contributor to the Indie Soup Media TV. IndieSoupMedia.tv platform. Indie Soup Media, powered by our good friend Dr. Tachi down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That is a now over 30 independent content creators network. I sit also on the advisory board, and I have edited versions of The Morning Vibe, Black Canada Talking, Primetime with Isha and Lala. I think some other things on that platform, but that's on there too. So we always love shouting out Dr. Tachi, and I have a feeling she'll be in the house sooner rather than later. So really excited. Ryan may be joining us halfway through the conversation today. Not exactly sure, but let's do some role play. So housework, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Please like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And I'm looking to hit my next barrier on YouTube, 1,500 subscribers. I know way back, it seemed like a way back at 1,000. My next goal is to hit 1,500 subscribers. So if you are up to it and you're comfortable, please subscribe and hit the notification button on YouTube. All right. Also, to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I contribute to, please email me, dr.vibe, VIBE, at the drvibeshow.com. Also, join the Morning Vibe Discord group. Please email me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. So, upcoming program alerts. If you're watching this on June 21st, tomorrow, June 22nd, live at 7 p.m., primetime Saturday with Isha and Lala, with Laura Lala Key, and also special guest Dr. Tachi. They're going to be talking about a number of stories through the American lens. Probably talking about the presidential debate, which is on the next week in America between 45 and Joe Biden. A lot of people are saying it's 45's race to lose. We'll see what happens in regards to that. Will Mr. Biden be able to keep up with the offense put on by 45? So that's coming up. I know we're going to be talking a number of different stories that are going on in the U.S., and the ladies have a lot to chat about. Next up, this Sunday, 5 p.m., Black Canada Talking, where Black Canadians give their POVs, thoughts, and opinions, and we showcase Black Canadians on the platform. And I'll be joined by Cesar Nadima Musa. Then coming up on this Monday's show, myself and Ryan are going to ask you, the audience, do Blacks have the ability to solve their own problems? And then the second part of that, have Blacks shown the ability to solve our problems? So definitely bookmark that, looking for a lively conversation. So, got that off. Just before we go to break, I wonder if anyone heard of this story, and I'd love to get your input on it. So let's put this up on the screen. All right. So I don't know if anyone's heard about Swiss Beats, and a lot of people have heard about the music producer Timbaland. And I'm sure probably everyone's heard about a guy named Elon Musk. So they have struck a deal. There was a platform. Well, let me read this. Versus, the online platform launched during the pandemic by Swiss Beats and Timbaland, has struck a distribution partnership with Elon Musk's X. The pair made the announcement during Cannes Lions conference in France on Wednesday, which this past Wednesday in America was Juneteenth. Interesting. So earlier in the year, Swizz and Timbaland reacquired Versus from their previous partner Triller, and now own 100% of the platform while returning their equity along with the artists who participated in Versus. in Triller. According to the announcement, under the terms of the new deal, the pair maintain full ownership and creative control of the platform, while X receives exclusive distribution rights. The company estimates it will now broadcast to an audience of over 550 active users, expanding its viewership and international reach. Viewers will now be able to watch for free exclusively on X. So there has been a lot of rumble about this story. This past Monday, we had a very lively conversation about Black media, and there's a number of people, one of them being Roland Martin, said, no way am I going to like this deal. Why did they not approach Black media for this distribution deal? These two gentlemen, Swiss Bees and Timberland, they ain't lacking for money. They got more than enough money. So they go to a gentleman who's, for many people's opinion, anti-DEI, who allows lots of racism on his platform to broadcast their information. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? And as we get our thoughts, we've got Fitness IQ Cam saying, Morning, Fitness IQ Cam, good to see you here. What else we got on? Fitness IQ goes 400,000. Wowzers. Yes, keeps on growing. And JJ Mars in from Colorado. JJ Mars, what's going on? You know I'm going to ask you what the weather's going on within Colorado. And I'd like to get Fitness IQ, both of you, or at least anyone else who's watching live. What are your thoughts on this deal? You know, I was chatting with a close associate yesterday. Say it's all about the money, man. It's all about the money. Not a color thing. They're just getting the money in the eyeballs. But then I then say, but don't they have enough money? Like, aren't there enough entertainers who are out there who could maybe form their own network and like do this? Like, whenever I know there was other commentary, whenever you hear this phrase "for the culture," what does that mean? Like, I think whose culture is this benefiting? So Fitness like you goes, you never have enough money. LOL. Really? You never have enough money? Wow. I need to hang out with you. You must have deep pockets. You never have enough money. So yeah. Oh, and then she says, especially when it comes to someone that has, quote, wealth, unquote. Interesting. But yeah, I think this is gonna, and I know it's one of the topics we're going to be chatting about tomorrow on Primetime, because again, Dr. Tachi is a content creator, so is Laura Lala Key, content creator. So that is going to be some of the stuff that drops tomorrow on Primetime Saturday. So wherever you're following Dr. Vibe, it'll be on. Anyone else have any comments before we go to break? Because we're going to go to break in a few minutes, because both these gentlemen are going to be laying down a lot of knowledge. So I want the questions to fly this morning. All right. So we're going to keep it tight. All right. We're going to go to a break. In 2 minutes, we have something that was suggested a few weeks ago that has now become a reality. Oh, we got another comment. JJ Mars says Musk is using these folks to promote his views. Interesting. Yeah. It'd be very interesting to see what goes on with that. But a whole state of Black media is a lot of commentary on this. So we're going to go to a break. And as I said, a few minutes ago, one of our regular contributors on the Morning Vibe suggested something, and I acted upon it. And today it becomes a reality. So keep it locked, keep it tight. And especially if you're watching this live, you're going to get a lot of good out of this, and I want to make sure you ask questions. So let's go to break, and we'll be back in 2 minutes.
You know, and that's what I feel like. You feel like you're the Harriet Tubman of the mind.
I am.
I feel like I'm I'm one of the Harriet Tubmans of intelligent Black people. Like, I want to liberate y'all from like being left behind and ignored and oblivion. No, really, the rappers get all the attention. You know, seriously, does anybody else feel this way? Like ignorant Black people, they'll be all up, you know, getting all the headlines on the Shade Room.
Overly sexualized Black folks.
Like the twerkers and the, you know, just people that, you know, don't always represent the best of us, you know, the diversity, you know, like people like Dr. Vibe. Like, everybody should know about people like Dr. Vibe. Dr. Vibe he's trying to do good work for Black people.
Dr. Vibe from Toronto. Good to see you, my brother. Dr. Vibe. Everybody follow Dr. Vibe. He has a
great show. He's very good at what he does, and I have a lot of respect for him. The men who are also doing the same thing. I see Dr. Vibe in here. He's a great brother. Everybody should follow Dr. Vibe, by the way. He's a smart brother in Canada, and we need to follow smart people. So follow Dr. Vibe if you see him in the chat. And Dr. Vibe, say your name in the chat so people can see you. I want you to click on his name, and I want you to go follow him, please, because I want these men and women that are doing the right things to get the support they deserve. Hey, Dr. Vibe, how you doing, brother? Again, like I always do, I got to say everybody should go follow Dr. Vibe. He's got a great show. Dr. Vibe, I know Dr. Vibe's got a kingdom because I see your channel. I see you pouring into that every day. Everybody should follow Dr. Vibe, by the way. Look him up, Dr. Vibe, V-I-B-E. He's a great friend of me and my wife, and I love this guy. Okay, so let me hop into this. What's up, Dr. Vibe? How you doing? Everybody, if you see Dr. Vibe in the chat, everybody go follow the Dr. Vibe show. Dr. Vibe is a real smart brother and a good human being. I like the guy a lot, and he's very intelligent. And I think everyone should pay attention to what he's got going on. We got to shine the spotlight on the intelligent Black people out here that are really doing the good work. Don't just pay attention to the rappers and the celebrities. You know, a lot of these people are losers. Your true winners are your people in your community that are really having your back. Helping us to have stronger families and a stronger community. So Dr. Vibe is in that category. So you might see the Dr. Vibe show in this chat. If you see him, please go follow him. Okay. All right. So anyway.
All right. As always, shout out to Dr. Boyce and Dr. Alicia Watkins for their support and my support back to them. And let's say something's brewing. I'll just leave it at that. We're not going to go any further. So welcome, everybody. Morning Vibe. But this is a special moment. So a number of weeks ago, Wayne Harris, who's on every first Friday with his Financial First Fridays on the Morning Vibe, joins us. And we were having another great conversation. As always, he was on fire. He gave a great breakdown of the last 400 years of Black America. That was fire. And also make sure you are subscribing to the YouTube channel, and you'll start seeing clips from that probably in the next week or so on our YouTube channel and also Instagram and also TikTok. But he brought up an idea saying, you know what? Ray McMillan and I got to get together. I said, oh, really? Okay. And he called it, says, and he even came up with a name, Black Belt Conversations. I go, I'm liking that. So I don't play when it comes to two great people together. I said, okay, let's get them together. Let's have an offline conversation to see if we can make this magic happen. Well, family, right here, right now, Ray McMillan. Right here, right now, Wayne Harris. Right here, right now, Suit Game. So today, I was going to say January, too warm out there for January, but he's even better what Ray is. June 21st, we have our first conversation on Black Belt Conversations. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy New Year. First one.
Good stuff. Great to have both of you here. I'm going to say to Fitness IQ goes, men are suited up. Well, there was jokes about that even before we went live because it was so funny. So Wayne comes on. He's got his single-breasted. Ray's just wearing shirt and tie. Then Ray comes back with a double-breasted suit. And Wayne goes, oh, really? But gentlemen, look, thank you for both of you being here. How's the morning going so far?
It's going well for me. How are you? How are you guys?
Yeah, I'm doing very well. I have no complaints. It's always nice to start a Friday morning with Dr. Vibe and Wayne Harris. You know what I mean? Couldn't be in better company.
I love it.
You had a big event yesterday, Wayne. Do you want to share with our family?
Yes, sir. So my son has crossed the stage at York University with a master's in economics, and he is now gainfully employed with one of our levels of government and finding his way out here in those financial streets with the guidance of myself and my wife. Very proud of Mr. Jordan Harris for sticking to it and going through COVID and not having his first convocation with his bachelor's because it canceled everything. So this is his first convocation since high school. So I went a little bananas in the arena yesterday. I think the sound is on video where you hear me screaming out, "Let's go!" So,
Excellent.
So pretty good. Pretty good.
Fantastic. And Ray, what's going on in your world?
Pretty quiet. Trying to navigate my new landscape. Looking at some opportunities here. For those who don't know, I'm actually in Jacksonville, Florida. It's one of the faster growing real estate markets in the U.S. Very low entry level point. So I spent the last 7 years trying to understand it. The last 3 months I've been on the ground more or less full time. So that's where my focus is.
Nice.
And helping Stefan back in Toronto to build his business models. Between the two things, it takes up most of my day. I thought I was going to slow down, but not happening right now.
Not yet. Good morning.
Yet.
Shirley Joseph says, good morning, everyone. Congratulations, Wayne. Very nice. So let's get to it. We had our conversation about a week and a half ago. And also, too, these conversations aren't going to be regular things. They may have maybe quarterly, maybe. So even more reason for you to catch them live. Catch it live. Shelly Champion says, good morning. It is hard to hear, Ray. Okay, he's saying I can hear him okay. Can you hear him okay, Wayne?
He was a little low when he was going through his intro, but if he stays close to the mic, he's going to be fine.
Okay, thanks. Sorry about that.
Okay,
that
there
better?
we go.
Much better.
Okay,
thank you.
much better. Shelley.
Exactly.
Okay, lean in. So our first conversation in the series of Black Belt conversations is going to be about retirement. Gentlemen, where do you want to start? I also have a lot of questions, but who wants to start in regards to this conversation? Or I can put a question out there.
Well, let me just set the table with a few statistics, and you guys can pipe in. First of all, people in their, honestly, in Canada, when you're born, you need to start thinking about your retirement, but most people don't. The Gen Zs and the millennials may be thinking about it, but they're still more focused on asset accumulation. They're looking to buy houses. They're looking to max out their TFSA. They're investing in stocks. They're doing their crypto. They're hustling. They're just getting their skills together. They're finishing school. They're paying back student loans. They're getting all those things done. So that generation of cohort, they're buying cars so they can get to and from work and trying to find places to rent at a fair price. So they're not thinking about retirement. The generation just ahead of them, which is my generation, these people have their houses, they have their mortgages, they have their kids going through school, they're paying for braces, right? They're paying for tutors. They have 1 or 2 cars. They have every activity known to man: gymnastics, dance, swimming, basketball, track and field, tennis, volleyball, drop them off, pick them up. It's insane. Every day you know what you're doing. And if you have more than 2 children, well, listen, now you need two of you, one car going one direction, the other car going in another direction. And then you have to have somebody to take the third child to wherever they have to go. Then the cohort just above me, the boomers, they are now retiring and have started to retire. These folks born between 1946 and 1964, these folks now some of them have already been retired since 2011. The 1946 have been retired since 2011, and the last of them is going to come through by 2031. So we're almost 5 years before the last of the boomers is going to be retiring. This group here has the most amount of wealth known to man. They got everything cheap. They're buying houses on the Danforth for a bag of Doritos. Okay, they're buying cars for $3,000, Toyotas. These folks here have created a bubble. And if you read the book Boom Bust Echo, or The Pig and the Python, it talked about this generation. And anyone who attached their career to this generation basically has won. McDonald's created fast food for this generation. Mattel and Tonka and Hasbro made all the G.I. Joes and the Barbies and all that for this generation. Everything you see, discotheques for this generation. Single person, 1-bedroom apartments in Toronto for this generation when they were moving out. Where I live in Mississauga, created by that generation. All things that you see happening in Canada have been created and maintained for this generation. Now this generation is saying, deuces, we're out. And how they exit, and the generation before them, which is my father and your father's generation, that generation born before World War II, that generation had some money, but that generation learned something. That generation went through something called the Great Depression. Because they went through the Great Depression, that generation did not spend money unless they absolutely had to. So they bought their houses with 25% down payments. That generation, credit cards, they're like, if I don't have the money, I'm not buying it. The boomers don't have that. So we have more boomers than we have that generation before us. That generation is now transitioning, as my parents already have, and many of you, your parents are going through that right now. But the largest transfer of wealth in the history of mankind is happening right now. And if you don't know what you're doing, as Russell Peters' father would say, somebody gonna get hurt real bad. Back to you, Dr. Bai.
All right. Ray, let me ask, with your background in mortgage and the clients you deal with, how many of them, if any, are talking about retirement?
Before I answer your question, let me go back to Wayne's brilliant intro as usual. I'm a boomer, born 64. And what Wayne said is so true. My first house was $169,000 in Mississauga. My first car was $5,000. I was 3.5 years old. So we managed to do a lot of things that a lot of the current generations are never going to be able to do unless we transfer that money to them. I saw some stats yesterday that said 1 in 3 women over the age of between 55 and 64 have no retirement savings. No, this is not Black women.
Wow.
Italian women. This is 1 in 5 women over the age of 50, between the age of 55 and 64 have no retirement. And that was done by the Healthcare of Ontario pension plan. So
wow.
I put some weight in the numbers they're talking about. You and I also both know, gentlemen, that a large amount of our Black women are healthcare workers. So that has a lot to say that women have spent 30 and 40 years in healthcare profession in Canada and Ontario, but they have no retirement savings, which is a tragedy, because we've got a lot of women who are single, elderly single, because of the migration policies back in the 70s when they were coming here as healthcare workers and caregivers, and the husbands didn't come with them most of the time. We also have a large amount of women who are being divorced in their 50s and 60s. So even those women even though those families have created some kind of wealth, we had marital breakdown in the latter parts of the years. So I've seen a lot of stuff over the time. So to answer your question, Dr. Bai, it's a tragedy. Simply put, it's a tragedy. We've got most of our money in real estate. Our home is our only saving. The challenge is most people don't understand how to leverage it. So they're not taking advantage of the equity buildup to fund their later years in life. And whether that means retiring in a smaller community, downsizing and retiring in a smaller home, or downsizing and retiring into a smaller condo. Those are the limitations that I've seen over my 25 years. And I can share many anecdotal references, as we go along our conversation.
Stuff. Wayne, I'll come back to you if you want to add on. Well, I have a number of conversation points, and also if you're watching live, pump the questions in. But Wayne, you want to continue?
Yes. We have a proclivity towards single parenthood in our community, which is more the norm than the exception. And because of this, we have our women taking the economic burden almost from the time they're adults. They kind of know they have to train themselves that, hey, if I'm going to be taken care of in my life, it's up to me. No one's coming to help me. No one's coming to save me. So I better go on and get a good education and make sure I have enough money to take care of myself. Should I be blessed to have a union and have a relationship that will last? Great. That's additive. but the women are focused on making sure they can take care of themselves, and that's a good thing and a bad thing. I think a lot of there's a difference between males and men. That's time for another show, and I think a lot of women are attached to males, and males can barely take care of themselves, let alone take care of a family. Whereas a man will take care of himself, take care of his wife, and take care of his children, and want to do it. He doesn't see it as a burden. He sees it as a responsibility. I couldn't wait to be a husband and father. I was like, boy, wait till I get in there. And, in August, it'll be 32 years that Angie and I have been married. And I'm like, we have a cohort of people who are just like us. But we also have many, many friends who are out there in various degrees of singlehood. And the burden in this town, I'm talking about GTA in general, is very high. And if you're going to be by yourself, you better be bringing it. If you're going to live within, Oshawa to as far as Hamilton, as far north as Barrie, if you're going to be in that little triangle, you better be bringing the economic heat, because it's no joke here. It's as high as it gets in the country. Vancouver and us battling for which is going to be the worst. But I can tell you, people in this place are spending over 50% of their income just to get by. Now, working full time, 50% plus today. So what's going to happen when you retire and your income drops? So we're going to talk about that.
All right. Just have some comments here. Dr. Tachi's in the house. He says, good morning, Dr. Vibe, Wayne and Ray. And also Fitness IQ Cam says, I agree, Wayne. And she also says, some of us think to be financially savvy. Ray, I want to chat with you on this. How does home ownership fit into the broader picture of retirement planning?
Well, as I said earlier, it's probably the only asset most Black and Caribbean people ever have in their life, living in the Greater Toronto area. And we're going to reference our company to the Greater Toronto area, which is where I spend most of my time and where you guys are. It's the home ownership is a big thing for us, right? It's a sense of pride and a sense of purpose. And over the years, I've seen many clients, their primary focus is to pay off their mortgage. So they work diligently to pay that mortgage off, doubling up payments, showing partner hand and box hand to get extra funds for those who have got a Caribbean background. And they pay it down, they want to pay it off in 15 years. And I think we come into the home ownership market at a later age than our non-Caribbean and non-Black counterparts. We're buying homes in their 30s and 40s, while my white clients are buying homes in their 20s. So if you're spending most of your time and most of your resources trying to pay this mortgage down before you stop working, so you have to forego something. And in most cases, what you're foregoing is investing in assets that are appreciating in value, and that's because the stock market or mutual funds or anything else. So you get to 60, and the stat we just read validates what I'm saying, that you've got a house that is fully paid for. You bought it 30 or 40 years ago or 25 years ago. It's in a great neighborhood. It's never been renovated. It's probably fallen apart around you, but it's worth $1.5 million because you hit the jackpot when you bought it, but that's all you have, right? Many people don't understand their pension plans that their employers are offering. They don't take the time to sit down with an investment advisor. So you're now heading towards retirement, and you have to start thinking, what's my next move? And the next move for most people is continuing to work way beyond 65. When I first came to Toronto back in the 80s, the mantra here was Freedom 55 to an insurance company. And that catchphrase never left my mind. So my goal was to stop working because I have to in my 50s. So life happens and it is not as plugged with, but I never forgot that catchphrase, Freedom 55. And in many parts of the Caribbean, retirement is 55 years old. I saw my grandfather retired at 55. He's a pharmacist. And we continue to work on occasion. But he retired at 55 years old with a full pension. I've got clients today in their 70s who are school teachers, who are now substitute teachers.
Come
so
on.
There's something fundamentally wrong with that whole process.
Wow.
And, I've got a former business partner that is a very good friend of mine. He said up to the age of 40, you can have no plan. But once 40 hits you, 50 comes very fast. And 60 is like a speeding train. And I know that firsthand, you know. So we've got to start the planning in the 20s. Luckily for us, I mean, and congrats to Wayne's son, we've got younger people who, unlike us and our parents' generations, are coming into the job market with much higher incomes and much more information than we had when we were in our 20s and 30s. The challenge is, can they effectively translate that information, higher incomes that they're earning, into real wealth creation? You know, and some of them are a bit stubborn. I've got 3 of them, 27. They think the internet is the gospel, but you still need to have real life conversation with people who've made mistakes, you know, because they will save you time. And that's what we need most right now in our lives, is time, saving each other time.
This is beautiful because when Ray's chatting, Wayne's nodding his head. When Wayne's chatting, Ray's nodding his head. So it's beautiful. So we got some comments here. Heather Harris says, good morning, gentlemen. Congratulations on this show. Lives are going to be changed positively with these conversations. Well, thanks for taking time to start by in our country, Ms. Harris. Shola Bishop says, good morning. Also, Dr. Chachi says, I think we need to have more conversation about finances in families, especially Black families. Heather Harris says, very wrong to have to work for the rest of your life. That's just not a good thing. So let me ask, when you chatted about it earlier, but maybe some other things about what unique financial challenges do Black individuals and families face when planning for retirement? Or maybe both you can chime in on that.
Yeah, let me speak to this first. You're going to need about 4% of, if your income is, you know, $40,000 a year, let's say, $50,000 a year, and you want to retire on 75% of that money, you need to have over $1 million to generate 4% return, which is $40,000 a year in savings. So I'm out there, you know, as my daughter would say, Dad, you're out there in those streets. I say, I'm out there in those streets. I'm talking to people, and they're nowhere near $1 million. Why? Because they believe in 2 mechanisms that have been in place for a number of years, but haven't really reflected the realities of life. And the 2 mechanisms in place are provided by the federal government. The first one is Canada Pension Plan. I'm speaking for the Canadians now. In America, you guys have your Social Security, and we have something called Old Age Security, OAS. Well, those 2 things combined are just shy of $2,000 a month, supposedly indexed to inflation, but it's indexed to proposed inflation, not indexed to reality inflation. So therefore, if inflation is 2-3%, according to the Bank of Canada, that's what your OAS and CPP is tied to. But guess what? Just the other day, and Ray can attest to this, the rate of inflation was 8%. I know CPP didn't go up by 8%, and I know OAS didn't either. Therefore, you're going to be upside down. If the average 1-bedroom in Toronto and Vancouver, I'll use those as the 2 most expensive. Everything else is less expensive than that. If the average 1-bedroom is between $2,200 and $2,700 a month, before you turn on a light, okay? Before you pay for your cell phone, before you pay for internet, before you shop for clothes for 4 seasons, maybe 3 in Vancouver, and before you buy food, you're $700 in the hole. That's assuming you maxed it out between 18 and when you retired. So you're already upside down, and most people don't seem to understand this, that if you're going to be in the, especially in Dr. Vibe's show, we see a lot of people come in here and, oh, you know, I'm a content creator, I'm a this, I'm a that. I'm self-employed. Well, then you're not paying into CPP and you're not paying into OAS. So you have even less money. So your work to you die ratio goes up if you're going to be part of the gig economy and you're not doing what the squirrels have been telling you to do for years. You need to go find those acorns now. Today is the summer solstice, right? First day of summer. You need to be out there getting the acorns now because winter is coming. A little Game of Thrones there. Go ahead, Dr. Ryan. Is he frozen or am I frozen?
I'm
No,
good.
I think Vibe took a pause on us.
No,
Okay.
I'm good. I'm good.
He's digesting your comments, Wade.
I know I'm good.
I like the acorn analogy. I mean, that's so very important. It may sound very simple, you know. I still stand and watch my squirrels run across the deck every day. You know, they're a little annoying at times because they make a lot of noise.
Yes.
But yeah, they're doing what they need to do. But you're so very correct. The CPP and Ole Security has given many Black and Korean people in Toronto this false sense of security. And most of them haven't spent the time to understand the concept of inflation and cost of living and today's dollars versus future dollars. And because most of us again are immigrants or came from immigrant families, many of us are not going to get the maximum benefit. I mean, I turned 60 this year, and before I left Toronto a few months ago, I had my government sent me the whole CPP benefit letter and that kind of stuff. I didn't even look at it because that was not part of my retirement plan. That is bonus money for me. Right? Will I take it early? Will I take it late? I've got to look at the numbers, see how it affects my tax brackets, that sort of stuff. And then I'll decide, okay, let me take this money because I cannot put this money somewhere else and make more money. Right?
Come check your boy. Come check your boy, Ray.
Most people are going to tell you, oh, I want to wait as long as possible to take this, you know, mine might be $1,500 or something like that a month. But no, let me take it now. I need no money because we're in an economy in both in the US and in Canada where there's great opportunity. Anytime there's chaos, there's opportunity. There's political chaos, there's economic chaos. And you can't be fearful. And we have to now step out and speak to advisors. You got to speak to Wayne Harris. You got to speak to Ted Evans. You got to speak to all the guys who are the mortgage guys. You got to go speak to Stefan. Because what they're seeing is things that are happening that the average person is not seeing. One of the biggest challenges that we face is this access to information 24/7 at the click of a button. And I tell people all the time, it's one of the things that has cost us more because now everybody is an authority on every single subject. And they're not going to get the advice. My car bulb in my car is out. My neighbor said, it's an easy fix. No, he has technical skills. The only thing I can do with the car is drive it, put gas in it, and put air in the tires. I am not going to attempt to change a bulb in my car. I'm going to pay somebody $200 an hour to do that for me. We have to go and get the advice. You've got to sit down with somebody, spend that 45 minutes, let them understand what your family goals are. You know, what you may have a child who's going to be dependent for the rest of their life, but the child is disabled. If I don't sit down and speak to you, those things aren't going to count in conversation. If you've got a disabled child, you've got a dependent until the day you die. And you've got to make a lot of provision for that child when you die, right? And you have got to make arrangements with their siblings or somebody to take care of them after you die. But we have to enter the habit of going to the advisors for advice. The do it by myself way of doing things approach is not going to work for most of us. And I'm a self-directed type of investor, but I came from a banking investment background. And even then, I still will speak to people to get a better sense of what's happening in the markets. I am not in this. I am not an active stock investor. I don't know which companies are paying better dividends. I don't know which companies got some kind of merger coming up. I don't know because I'm not in that space all the time. But I've got hundreds of people who are in that space. You know, so I'm going to say that again. You've got to get the advisors. You've got to get a financial advisor on board with you. You've got to get an estate lawyer, and you've got to get a mortgage planner because you know we had a 25 bips drop in mortgage rates a couple weeks ago. And everybody's excited. Well, if you've got a fixed rate mortgage, it doesn't affect you. So why are you excited? And have you been able to quantify the real savings based on your $700,000 about that 0.25% drop in 202? It's probably less than $800 a year. But you're excited. So the information is there, but understanding the information and putting it into context is what we have to work on doing. And you've got to find the folks who understand it and are in the trenches doing the work to put it in context for you.
All right. Let me catch up with some comments here. Dr. Tachi says, I'm impressed with anyone who can live on $40,000 a year because that is pittance. excuse, Heather Harris says bad on both sides, poverty. Mini on Cam, what's up? Mini on Cam says self-employed only plays into CPP when your net income is high enough for that. Heather Harris says, amen. Take it early. Take your old age thing early. And she says also the actuaries bet on death. Mini on Cam says the million households on social assistance are not encouraged to use their registered investment accounts, even if it's to the absurd asset limits determined by the Ontario government. She also says disabled child become adults. If you're a disabled adult, you are left to fend for yourself. And then
Go ahead.
Mini on Cam says, my father, being a real estate agent my whole life, said people are not qualifying for the new stress test, so that's putting strain on the market. All right. Any comments from what people have shared with us in the last? Go ahead.
This is why I love your audience, Dr. Vibe. No lies told. These folks are out there and they know the deal. I can tell you this, that the ability for people to just do self-reflection, right, is a key to growth, right? I remember myself 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and what my ideology was on life, and it shifts and it adjusts as times change. So now here in my late 50s, I don't think the same way I did in my late 20s when I was up in the club, right, with my Le Chateau disposable outfit. Everybody knows about that. Friday you get paid, you go to Le Chateau, you buy an outfit. Back in the day, the club
got paid Friday night.
Buddy, the club had you were allowed to smoke inside the club. So you go outside, you wear your best gear, and you go in there, you get smoke out. And you know, black people aren't dry cleaning, right? So that outfit was done. It was done for you. Anyway, I want to say this, that people who are gig economy, people who are not making enough money to survive now when they're working full time, people who are disabled. There are other government programs that we spoke about on this show. So the Registered Disability Savings Plan is there to 65. We have the government income supplement that will give you some extra funds. And there's other social welfare tools in place, but it's not a good look. You need to reduce your expense footprint. And that may mean leaving the geography. I know people who've left Mississauga and moved out towards Sandbanks, Picton, Ontario, Port Colborne, Cobourg, Bowmanville. Just by going 150 kilometers east of here, you can drop your expense footprint significantly by bringing the war chest of cash, depending if you are a boomer or not. And she's a boomer, so she bought those houses for a bag of Doritos and sold them for real money, and then moved out to the Picton area. Very nice, on the water, very nice little bungalow, no stairs, access to first-rate healthcare, and you're still only an hour and a half by train, not even an hour by train to Toronto. If you want to come into Toronto and get yourself a patty or doubles, or as Ray would say, chicken curry, as I would say, curry chicken, you can come get it and go back out to that part of town.
There's more comments here. Dr. Tachi loves Le Chateau. And Mignon Cam says, Le Chateau, I miss my purple dress. And Mignon Cam also says, moving is not easy when you have medical appointments with specialists and the shortage of family doctors.
Fair.
Understood. Want to come to Ray saying, what should individuals consider when deciding on whether to pay off their mortgage before retirement?
Well, I mean, everybody's different, and you have to know what your long-term retirement goals are. The bigger question is, are you a two-income household, or a two-person household, or a single-person household? Because that's going to determine what your plan is. So if you've got a spouse who has a decent pension coming in, right, it could make sense, you know. But the way I look at it, the house is always going to cost you money. Right? It's never going to stop costing you money. If you had a house for 35 years, you're a homeowner, then you know you're pumping tens of thousands of dollars into that property every year in maintenance. My advice to clients who are looking to retire more comfortably is to, when you get to around 55 or just before you get to 60, then you can still qualify for a mortgage. But remember, your monthly mortgage payment doesn't reduce as your mortgage amount reduces. Here in Canada, we've got term mortgages, 1 to 10 year terms, so 6 to 10 year terms. So depending on your contract, every year or every 6 months, or every 3 or every 5 or every 10 years, 7 years, your mortgage renews, right? And the new contract is determined based on your current interest rates, etc. In the US, you guys have 15, 25, and 30-year mortgages. So once you get a mortgage in the US, a 25-year mortgage at a good rate, there's no real need to go back and look at that product again unless you plan to refinance it and pay the equity of your home. So here, we come up with this, we have this contract every few years. Your mortgage is going down, but your payments are not, because we're trying to pay off this mortgage between 25 to 30 years. If you've got a home you bought and you refinance it, you've got a few $100,000 against it, you're now close to 60. You're at your highest earning capacity, right? What my suggestion is sit down with somebody, financial advisors and mortgage advisor, and figure out how you can leverage your home to finance your retirement. So we know what homes are worth in Toronto. You know, they're all above $1 million. If you bought a home in the 90s, you probably bought between $150,000 and $220,000. If you paid your mortgage responsibly and managed your debt responsibly, you probably got a $70,000 mortgage. Now you've been paying probably $1,800 a month for the last 25 years, comfortably, give or take a few $100s, depending on the interest rate. My recommendation to you is sit down, do a household budget, refinance your mortgage while you can still qualify based on your income and your credit score in your home. Push the amortization back as far as possible, 30 years if possible, right? If you have this huge boom, this huge bag of gold that's sitting in your home, keep your payment at $1,800 or less and take as much cash as you can out of your real estate. Call somebody who is a financial advisor, whether they're investing in seg funds, mutual funds, stock market, or whatever they're doing. Sit down with them, put together a plan that works based on your risk tolerance and leverage the equity in your home. The challenge is most folks don't understand that process. They're scared shitless, pardon my language, and they end up retiring in a very uncomfortable situation. Like my school teacher client who's 78 years old and is still a substitute teacher.
Yep.
Anything you want to add on to that, Wayne?
Yeah, right now I'm meeting. So here, case in point, there's a lady, late 60s. She inherited a home from her mother. She's the only child. After paying off the debts and paying off whatever taxes she had to pay, she paid about $200,000. She then turned around and went and bought her house cash for $1.4 million. I went, wow. I didn't know what to say.
Dumb and dumber.
And then I was talking to her and she's like, yeah, so now the house needs repairs and I have no money. And now she's renting out a room and trying to get some rent, and her income has gone to almost just her CPP and her OAS. She had very little savings. But this lady could have been living like a queen and traveling the world if she understood leverage. She understood what Ray and I understand. She would put down enough money to make sure that her mortgage was about the same as what market rent would be. And she would still have a war chest of cash generating, even, understanding risk tolerance in your 60s is not what it is in your 20s. But even at a moderate risk, 5-6% on the money. Well, 5-6% on $1 million is $60,000 a year. And she wouldn't be touching the $1 million. Now, she is an only child and she has no children. So imagine, this house is here with fully loaded, mortgage free. She's done the renovations, but now it needs more. She has no money. A couple of things she can do. The bank is saying, come, we'll lend you $75,000. No problem. $75,000. Mortgage free, mortgage free rate. They're saying you can have $75,000. Why? Because you're watching her income to service the loan. Now, while she was working, her mother was alive. That's when she should have done what Ray said and go and get a maximum amount of money on the refi. And then she would be able to use that. But then she still has to service that every month. Ray has a mechanism called a reverse mortgage. And the reverse mortgage, I'm going to leave it to Ray because this is his domain. But this is a way for seniors to get access to money without having to come up and show income on a monthly basis to get that money. So Ray, I'm going to pass it to you on that.
Thank you very much. Great segue. Yeah, that reverse mortgage is a product that most people have to try to understand. What a reverse mortgage is using the equity in your home to finance your lifestyle or pay off debt. And it's a product that's available for people over the age of 55, and it goes up to a certain amount of loan to value of your real estate. And some products don't require a payment at the end of the month. Some products you can make a payment if you choose to. You have the option of taking all the money in cash, or you take it as a monthly drip. You take a monthly income for the rest of your life. The premise is based on two things: that your property value will continue to increase at a certain clip going forward. And let's say 5% annually. I'm not going to get aggressive with the amount. And then your rate is easy around, with current rates, probably around 5 or 6%. So your house is increasing at basically the same value as you're being charged by the reverse mortgage company. So it's a win-win situation, right? You can now take this money out and you can buy yourself a nice condo or cottage in Barbados, Jamaica, Antigua, Grenada, and spend your winters there as opposed to trying to shovel snow when you're 70 years old in America. Because I think it's ludicrous for anybody born in the Caribbean. If you're born in the Caribbean, you have no reason to be shoveling snow at 70 anywhere in Canada, right? In my opinion, you failed miserably. You have many other options for us, right? So it's a very simple product. And I mean, when we first started offering the product, we got a lot of pushback from clients. I mean, the first deal my son did, it took him 2 years to close it. And this was a white family. The husband subsequently died. And that's the other thing. If one spouse dies, the lender is not calling your mortgage. But at 70 years old, if your spouse passes away, you don't get a phone call from RBC, CIBC, or Bank of Montreal telling you we need you to requalify for this mortgage. So your better options going on the reverse mortgage route, right? Today, we have clients calling us to do reverse mortgages. And many of those clients are black clients and Caribbean clients. Why? Because the best referral we have is word of mouth. And after we've helped the first homeowner who was in her 60s get one, she told all of her friends about this amazing product. So, you know, whether you call myself or call a mortgage advisor, if you're heading towards, if you're in your 60s and you sit in this home that is worth, you know, 1.2, 1.3 million dollars with a very small mortgage, and your only income is a very meager government pension, even if you have a company pension, because most of these company pensions are still below $3,000 a month, right? Your better option is to sit down and see whether it fits your needs. The other one, using a reverse mortgage, and one I prefer. My primary reason for recommending to my clients is giving your children and your grandchildren their inheritance early. Because the best way to make money is with time. So if I'm 65 years old, my house is free and clear, and I've got 2 grandkids, you know, I am better off, and my kids, right? And my kids also. I can now take out $500,000 out of the home, give it to my children and their grandchildren, and now they now create their wealth stream with that money. Instead of waiting until I'm 95 years old, they're now close to 70 and collecting their inheritance when they might not even need it as much. Because the time when you need money as a young family, as being known, when your children are younger, you know. So there's lots of reasons for it. But yeah, I mean, we have to really sit back and think what we're doing. And as Wayne said earlier, you've got to move. You know, we have a very efficient transit system in Ontario. The GO train goes almost every part of Ontario. Now you can jump on the GO train from Niagara Falls to Toronto in 45 minutes or an hour. So there's no reason not to move out of the GTA. GTA is one of the most expensive enclaves in the world when it comes to real estate. Property in Toronto costs more than properties in New York City, right? So I don't understand why immigrant Caribbean families are tied to living in Toronto. Even if you don't want to go back to the Caribbean for whatever reason, you know, lack of infrastructure, you know, whatever reason you can come up with, You can move out to Grimsby, out to Niagara Falls, out to Port Hope, out to Belleville, and you've got much larger lots, much more space. You can do your garden in your backyard, and that will probably improve your quality of life instead of being tied into a city that you have not too much to do because it's too expensive to do anything. And then look at the options and just speak to somebody.
I couldn't agree more. I'm telling you that the real estate, I'm all for it. But the mistake people make is when they buy their first house, they buy their first house as a single family home. If I could tell anybody, if you're going to buy a single family home, it better have a basement with a separate entrance with where you can put a legal basement. Now, Ray and I had this conversation offline. If I'm going to rent in Ontario, listen, I don't even know how bulletproof that lease has to be for me to rent to someone. Your credit check and your criminal background check. Listen, I'm inspecting you in ways that you don't want to be inspected for you to rent from me, because the amount of rent and pay two first and last and never pay again in this province, I'm not about it. Again, Russell Peters, somebody gonna get hurt real bad. I don't want to be in that situation where I'm looking at you and you're looking at me in my house and you're not paying any rent. All we hear is the stories on the news where people are coming and renting people's places, paying first and last and never paying again, and waiting for the landlord-tenant board to solve a problem that they could solve while they save money because they're professional renters who do not pay their rent. And these people are out there hurting family. I mean, the story was of the lady, the couple in Brampton. Right? This guy had a $1,000 a month truck, and he's living in her house. She want to move back in her house. She can't move back into her house, and this guy's not paying rent. He said, we'll see what the landlord-tenant board decides. We'll see. And if they tell me I have to go, I have to go. All the while, he does not pay rent. All the while, he's living in their home. It's bizarre. This is why Ray and I were talking about landlord favorable geographies, landlord favorable jurisdictions. I was a renter for a long time in my life, but I was a good renter. I paid my rent. And I did not damage the place. So when I became a landlord, I hope the tenants would do the same to me. Some did, some didn't. Because I had a lady live here with me 6 months and she didn't pay no rent. And then she told me, move your car. I moved my car. I was about to verbally drape her up. And she said, move your car, I'm moving out. I said, what? I ran outside, moved my car, and she backed the truck up and she took her stuff and left. I went downstairs to see if there was any time bombs. No time bombs. We cleaned that place up and we said, never again. Done. And then a brethren of mine said, I'm going through some things. I need a spot. And I'm like, I'll hook you up because you're my brethren. But other than that, I'm out of the landlord game. It's over for me. I've been scared straight, Ray. I can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, and I appreciate your position. I mean, we all know that Ontario is not a landlord-friendly jurisdiction, and people are going into being landlords blindly, without understanding the what they're up against if something goes wrong. I can tell you tons of horror stories. People destroy people's homes, and dogs eating the whole frame of the door, and that kind of stuff. But I mean, there are many other places where it's easy, easier, and profitable. But for me, what I want to see us doing is start looking at the Caribbean as part of our retirement. And there's an opportunity there. It's a much more relaxed lifestyle. You got much better weather. Some guys have the occasional hurricane, but I mean, a lot of homes are built in a way where there's very minimal damage to your home. With the right hurricane insurance, you can offset those costs if there's damage. You've got much more frequent flights in and out of most of the Caribbean islands today, coming back to any part of North America or to London, England, if you have any listeners from the UK on our conversation, and start to use that as part of our retirement plan. One of my first clients back in the early 2000s, I recommended he traveled to Jamaica very frequently. He had a very successful business in Toronto. And he came to me and he says he wants to buy a home in Jamaica because he spends a lot of time there. He spends about 3 months a year in Jamaica. And we found a nice little place with about 65,000 US at the time. Did a quick refi in his home, and he bought that place cash. And 20 years later, he always thanks me. And this is a very simple man. This is a man who had, very basic education, but he was intelligent, and we use the word financial IQ very, very common today in our conversations. Understanding money and understanding risk is very, very important for us. I was speaking to my aunt a few days ago, and I told her, I said, the more educated the client is, the more challenge it is to deal with them, because they think they're an authority in every single subject. And I find the simpler clients, whether they're from the Caribbean or parts of Africa, they tend to understand the advice more, because they don't need to have a whole lot of information in their head to contradict what you're saying, and they understand numbers better. If you tell somebody, okay, you go to the Caribbean 3 times a year and stay in a hotel $300 a night, right? You do that for 10 years, I have $300,000, right? If you buy a home in Jamaica for 60 grand, it's appreciating. I mean, that house today is worth like 250,000 US. And it's nothing special. It's a very basic home. So you've increased your net worth significantly, and you've got your own home with your eggplant and tomatoes in your backyard. When you go down there, you can, if you want to put a fowl pen in your backyard too, you do what you want. It's the Caribbean, right? Yeah. And you go back to the lifestyle that many of us were accustomed to. And if you weren't born in the Caribbean, your parents or your grandparents were accustomed to. Like you guys, I spent a lot of time in Guyana. And you've been on calls where you hear that dog barking in the background, you know what I mean? Or a fowl cock crowing, right? And we have to really sit down and, not think of the Caribbean as a problem area. I mean, some of the islands aren't perfect. Yes, there's crime, but everywhere has crime of opportunity. And you've got to sit down with people who actually have been there, spent some time there, and share with you what their experience was. And then go down there and spend a month on your own. Because retiring in the GTA or in Vancouver is not going to be it. We're going to see a lot of elderly Caribbean poor people living in homes that are falling down around them that they can't afford to fix.
100%.
All right. I want to take a pause because you guys have been dropping so many non-drops that I have to catch up big time on comments. So let's start. Minnie on Cam says the USA has long-term mortgages of 15 to 30 years. We'll get to your question in a minute, Minnie on Cam. Okay. So Teddy Evans, Ted says yes. Good morning, everybody. Dr. Tati says $1.4 million cash. It's time for me to log off. She also says she needs to sell that stupid home. Yeah, and she goes, Minnie on Cam goes, yes, all the pocket money I receive, a portion goes to into my investments. Dr. Tati says, don't want to. Next up, my dad requested his basement entrance in the new build-up for the house. Dr. Tati says my home is single family but zoned for multiple occupancy, so I can build more if I desire. She also says property is zoned for multiple occupancy. Drea Rich says, I think one of the reasons for remaining in the GTA is the lack of diversity in some of the smaller cities. Yes, there are Black people in some. Office of Tim Frey. Good morning, Tim Frey. Morning, gents. Regarding retirement, I hear a lot about retiring from working for someone else, but not about why most people are taught about it before they even start working. He also says, wealthy people don't retire. They enjoy freedom for days, weeks, months, and even years. They don't, quote, finance their retirement, unquote. They teach their kids to be entrepreneurs, extending their businesses for generations. The focus in our community should be teaching our kids from grade school how to build their own businesses. This conversation deserves more attention. Therefore, he continues on. He's going to the focus on a 20-year-old saving money for retirement from their biweekly paycheck while working for someone else is pointless. Just my thoughts. Okay. Heather
Go ahead.
Okay, I answer. Okay, let's address Tim. I will get back to other ones. I think some things there
Tim's
that need to be shared.
To Tim's point, entrepreneurship, all the rage now, social media, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Everybody got a little side hustle, a little gig going on, all great. But there's some people are not wired to be entrepreneurs. This is not for the faint of heart. Every 2 weeks, Ray and I don't have, and you, Dr. Vibe, we don't have a check coming in from some third party that's taking care of us. Every 2 weeks, we either eat what we kill or we don't eat. And for many, that is very, very scary for a lot of people. Listen, the best feeling in the world, I thought, was knowing it was Thursday, just got paid, Friday night, and I pay for you, bling, and it goes in my account, and off I was to live another 2 weeks within the confines of what my employer chose was enough for me. Okay, because you don't get paid what you are worth, you get paid what the job is worth, and a lot of people get upset. Now, we also know that depending on what you're doing, salary can be arbitrary and based on subjective methods like complexion, right? I've seen
that
people.
Sounds very personal, Wayne.
Excuse me?
That sounds very personal, Wayne.
Well, we're here to tell the truth. Ray, we're here to tell the truth. And what I'm saying to you is that we know, at least in the United States, where there are race-based statistics, that as you go down the color spectrum from Caucasian, blonde hair, blue eyes, down to someone who looks like me, the pay will drop and commensurate by skin shade if you don't know how to handle that. And that's another conversation we can have, because if you want to get paid like a white male, I'll say it, you better know what the pay is for a white male. And a lot of people don't know that there are things and there are secrets that you can learn to make sure you get paid commensurate with your experience, regardless of your gender, regardless of your sexual orientation, regardless of your race. You can get that salary if you know what to do and what to say. And maybe that's our next show. But getting back to Tim, entrepreneurship makes sense. I'm going to suggest to everybody, even if you are not going to go into full entrepreneurship, like just take the training wheels off the bike and ride. If you're not going to do that, that's fine. No shame in your game. You need to have a side hustle. Why? Because the side hustle is going to give you tax advantages you cannot get with a T4 in Canada, W2 in the United States. Once you go into that side hustle mode and you have a business that's generating or not generating income, you get a little thing called tax deductible expenses. And once you get into tax deductible expenses, there are things you can do. I'm not an accountant, but there are things you can do to reduce your taxable footprint, which will allow you to put more money towards your retirement and towards your investments and towards your real estate and whatever you want to do for long-term income. I'm not concerned about how much money you make. I'm concerned about how much your money is making for you. And in order for you to have money making money on the money, which is investing, you need to have the disposable income. So we need to reduce your expenses and increase your revenue. Side hustle will increase your revenue, and through taxation, reduce your expenses, which is going to create a bigger gap, allowing you to take that money and put it into the mechanism. In the United States, your Roth IRAs, your IULs, you're in Canada and your whole life insurance policies. In Canada, your whole life insurance policies, universal life policies, RSPs, TFSAs, and non-registered investment. And of course, real estate that generates income. Not just real estate you live in, real estate that generates income. This is the difference. It's an investment property, not a principal residence. And a principal residence can be an investment property if you play it properly. And this is where Ray comes in. All right.
I also want you to, from the time I met Ray, he's always talked about getting out of the GTA. Why are people wanting to focus on the GTA? And this I wanted to get Ray and maybe also your comments, Wayne, on Drea Rich saying, I think one of the reasons for remaining in the GTA is the lack of diversity in some other cities. Yes, there are Black people in some places, but the numbers still seem to be scarce.
Well, I agree with all of what Wayne just said. And I mean, not everybody's an entrepreneur. It's a long and lonely journey, very painful at times. It can cost you a lot. It can cost your family. It can cost you, you know, with your children because you're out there grinding. And I don't like to use the word grind. You're out there doing what you're doing. Um, you know, if you don't put a structure to your life, probably 24/7. You know, I had to develop a structure in my life. I mean, I'm 20. I started out in '94. First of all, I had a 2-year hiatus and came back in '99. So I got about 28 years of working for myself. Uh, but I structured my schedule around my children's lives. So I never missed any of the school events. I went to every single school concert. I went to every single basketball game and that sort of stuff. And my parents knew that, you know, when my kids were younger, that, you know, my appointments were built around my children's schedule. I worked from 10 to 3 on Saturdays. I never turned on my computer on a Sunday, and I still don't. If you email me on a Sunday, you're not going to respond to them Monday morning. And I've maintained those. But it's lonely, you know, and, you know, I'm fortunate. I've got 2 kids who've gone into the entrepreneurial realm. And every day I speak to them and I let them know that, you know, I can hear the pain in their voices. You know, you wonder if you're doing the right thing. Because they're young, or they're, you know, one is 32 and one is 30. But my daughter, you know, your grad has a great job. And, you know, I think we put too much pressure on young people to create their own destiny. I was talking to a colleague a few days ago, and he was telling me about, you know, his daughter is so strong, he wants her to go out there and build this and build that and build that and create the world. And my response is, that's all well and good. My wish to my daughter is to marry a good husband. I don't care whether she can go out there and conquer the world, because I mean, it's a tough place for a woman to be. And I know it's going to sound very, very sexist and be a lot of pushback from women in my audience. But women in my family were all highly educated, but they were also all married. So I'm not interested in my daughter going out there recently with a sledgehammer, trying to win in a very, very tough space. I wanted to find herself a nice husband and give me a couple of grandchildren. Perhaps I've got a very, very selfish motivation. But I mean, that's just my opinion. And if you agree or disagree, I really don't care. But coming back to the GTA and moving, I think the whole thing about all this stuff about the GTA being the center and hub of Caribbean life is a bunch of baloney. I've spent time in Montreal, spent time in Ottawa, spent time in Barrie, spent a lot of time in Hamilton, Windsor. How much Caribbean stuff do you actually need in your day-to-day existence as a Black person? I can't remember the last time I went to a Caribbean restaurant. I cook my own food, and I can find whatever I want in most stores. You know what I mean? Hamilton had a very healthy Black presence. When I did the research, the Black population in Hamilton was like 1.4%. Right? I've gone to several Black functions in Hamilton when Lincoln Alexander was alive. I used to go there very frequently, even in the heart of winter. I spent a lot of time in Barrie also, where I found very nice Caribbean spots in Barrie. I'm talking 25 years ago, long before the Buy Blacks Restaurant Week. So I am always confused and perturbed when I hear people say, well, I don't want to leave the GTA because, you know, there's no Black people in these other neighborhoods. Well, I lived in Meadowville back in the 90s, and I was the only Black person in most of Meadowville. I don't really care whether there's Black people living around me. What I care about is a safe environment for my family, where I can raise my kids and have access to the things I need. And if you need to make sure you get your jerk sauce and your peppers and stuff, then take a once-monthly trip into the city, pack your stuff up, and head back out to Picton or Belleville, wherever, and live your nice 60-foot frontage home, you know, or half-acre lot, and enjoy your life. You know, it's just a different life. It's also a healthier lifestyle for many young children, because if you've got both parents working in the GTA, your children are housebound most of the time. It's very unhealthy for them. Hence the reason you have all these mental health issues today with a lot of our younger children, younger adults, because they spent their entire lives either being chaperoned by parents or locked up in a home. But if you live in a more rural, relaxed environment, your kids are outside, learn to do regular stuff, like learn to throw a fishing rod, you know, learn to ride a motorcycle, and things that normal young men, which is my experience as a child growing up in the Caribbean, was, you know. So I will always debate the whole staying in the GTA because everything I need is in the GTA. I mean, if you say you can't find a job outside of the GTA, then finding your profession, that might be a challenge. But if, as I said, most of us are in healthcare, or some sort of self-employment, if you're a truck driver, then you shouldn't be living in the GTA, because it's cheap to go and buy a home up in Erin, where you can park your truck very comfortably in your own backyard, as opposed to having to pay somebody to park your rig. So I mean, look at it with a different perspective and see exactly how it fits into your long-term goals. Because I mean, $1.8 million for a house in the GTA versus $500,000 in Windsor, that's a big difference.
All right, I'm just going to see if I can catch up to all the comments. So, Minnie on Cam says, Drea Rich, the smaller towns are low BIPOC populations. Heather Harris says, it's not easy money. Minnie on Cam says, Office of Tim Frey, are you familiar with the FIRE movement? Financial independence, retire early. More people have figured out that freedom lifestyle after. Heather Harris has a few things. Make sure you keep your health care if you're moving to the Caribbean. Okay, you have to be willing to listen, she says. Real talk. Minnie on Cam, feast or famine. Minnie on Cam says, I've been living on feast or famine since 2003. I'm unemployable. Heather Harris says, entrepreneurs are superheroes. Minnie on Cam says pay drops by gender. Also, she says, Heather Harris says again, say it. I've always said get paid like a white man. Close the pay gap yourself. Drea Rich says racism is endemic in the labor market. Minnie on Cam says love the T2125 statement of business or professional activities tax form. Office of the Tim Frey says, thank you, Wayne. As a fellow Bayesian and a third generation entrepreneur, quote, side hustle, unquote, is not what I would call it. Multiple streams of income from wherever you get it is what it is. Heather Harris, another Bayesian, says, we could all benefit from a good partner and family life. It makes for a very different life journey. Minnie on Cam says, Jamaica Valley delivers all the Jamaica spices and spices. There you go. And Heather Harris says being a single Black woman is not easy. And Fitness IQ says facts. So we are all caught up now. We are all caught up.
Thank you for all the comments. I'm going to tell you this. The reason we have a propensity to have single women households, again, we went through that on my last Financial First Fridays. I need the males to become men. I'm working right now with a group out in Durham region to create a rite of passage for boys to become men. There's a little culture. They're small, but they're mighty. They're called the Jewish people. And they have bar mitzvahs for the boys and they have bat mitzvahs for the girls. And they, in front of their synagogue, in front of their tribe, in front of their people, they speak about the principles of who they are and what they're going to do to continue to represent that culture in the future as adults. I think a rite of passage within the Black community was something that we had in Africa, something we lost in the transatlantic slave trade along with our name. That's why we got a good-looking brother over there with the last name McMillan. We got another one named Gow and another one named Harris. And these names should not be associated with the three of us in any capacity, but it is what it is. So I'm going to make lemonade out of lemons. Transatlantic slave trade happened. Okay, I was not a part of it, but I am the echo of that. So the echo is, what can I do with all of my freedoms, with my ability to read, write, and count? What can I do during my lifetime to put myself in position so my kids and their kids can win, and my community as well? Well, we're doing that. All right, my sister is on here. She's Dr. Heather Harris. I'm on here. I have my postgraduate in IT. Ray's on here. He has his paperwork. You're on here. You have your paperwork. We're doing our thing. I'm not coming at life with a victim mentality. I'm not expecting anything from anyone. If I want it, I have to go out and get it. So what do I need to do? I need to skill up. So what do we need to do within our community? We need to skill up as it relates to finance. First and foremost, if you don't know how to budget or do not have a budget, that's job one. I got to know what's coming and what's going. Once I have that, then I can build a plan for how I want to live. Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind. Seek first to understand before you want to be understood. So I need to make sure that I understand what it is you want so you can retire comfortably, what that means for you. Because if you say that $2,000 a month will serve you, I will say you're not delusional. You just can't live in the GTA. You can't live in the GTA. Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Newfoundland, Manitoba will welcome you. Maybe Upper Rubber Boot, Saskatchewan, but you cannot live in the GTA if $2,000 is your jam. $4,000. Well, $4,000 by yourself, tight in the GTA. But $4,000 with a partner each, now you can live in the GTA. If you have $5,000, you can live on your own in the GTA. But if you and your partner both have $5,000, you can live anywhere on the planet. Okay? So Ray talks about you should not be shoveling snow. Listen, shoveling snow is, I'm born in Canada, and shoveling snow is not my jam. My DNA says Bajan. And last I checked, there are no shovels for sale in Barbados unless you're digging ditches and building houses. There's no snow shovels in Barbados. So my DNA is calling me back home, right? And as I get older and these winters become, oh, this one wasn't too bad. I can't lie. Last winter was a joke, right? But I don't want to play that game. As long as there's high-speed internet and good healthcare, deuces to Canada for January and February if you are retired. Why would you stay here? Unless you love to ski, and I can ski. But honestly, God, if I think about skiing or being in the sea, the sea wins. So I'm putting myself and my wife in position so that we can segue into this. Because what I do, I don't consider it work per se, because it's kind of what I love to do, is my jam. So I'm going to do it as long as I'm lucid. I'm going to do what I do. I don't think Ray is going to stop doing his deals and whatnot in his 60s and 70s. He may not do as many, and he may pass more of his clientele to his children because he set himself up to be able to do so. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the big, sexy, funky deals that make my mind have to think about what I'm doing. I'll do those. Everything else, I will work. Let my team eat. Everybody wins. They get some money. I get some money. The client gets what they need. Everybody wins. So we have to think about, what are we going to do to position ourselves for the day that we say we do not want to do what we're doing anymore? And do we have enough income to sustain our lifestyle for us? We do not want more life than money. This is the definition of hell. Having more month than money. Having more life than money. You don't want to have money coming to 85 and you live to 86. You don't want to have money coming to 95 and you live to 96. I need to make sure that your money lasts as long as you do and transfers to the next generation as tax efficiently as possible. This is the jam. There's $3.2 trillion sitting in bank accounts earning 0.5%. My job, like Abraham Lincoln, is to emancipate that money and put it in places where it can beat inflation and be tax effective for you and your family. If you're in Canada, tax-free savings account, not with a bank, with me. If you're in the United States, Roth IRA, not with a bank, with people in the states that I work with. Why? Because if you're on the bank side, it's a part of your estate. And if you're on the insurance side, it is not. The bigger your estate, the bigger your probate tax. The bigger your estate tax. Outside of the estate, the lower the tax. The returns are the same. But if you don't know that, as Russell Peters' father is going to say, somebody going to get hurt real bad. Back to you, Dr. Vibe.
Okay. I don't want to keep you guys much longer. Ray, I'd love to get some final thoughts on this topic and also in regards to, retirement and real estate.
As I'm going to say again, take a look at your personal situation where you are. If you're in your 50s and you have less than $40 million cash sitting in some kind of investable asset, you might want to reassess your situation. If you've got a lot of equity in your home and you've got no cash in your bank account again, then you might want to think, how do I use this asset to make some money and change my future? But more important, I want to talk about the whole misnomer about bad health. But healthcare in Canada being better than the Caribbean. And I mean, well, I've been on me personally. I spent a lot of time in the Caribbean, both in Grenada and Guyana, extended periods of time. My mother lives in Grenada. She's lived there for the past, I think, 27 years. That whole idea of having to come back to Canada for healthcare is BS. You guys are some of the best doctors in the Caribbean and the best healthcare in the Caribbean. What you need to get it is money. It's going to cost you a lot less and get you to the front of the line much faster if you have money. I have used healthcare in the Caribbean. I've actually went to Guyana in 2022 to get some medical stuff done because I got it done a lot faster and a whole lot cheaper, even though I paid for it. My mom had an accident, was it last year, where she slipped, fractured her elbow, I think. We were able to pay nurse care for her. And I want you to hear this very carefully. It cost myself and my sisters $300 a month, $300 a week, sorry, to give my mother nurse care by a nurse, not somebody who lived down the street. Now, if that had happened in Toronto, and I had to get nurse care for my mom, I'm thinking a few $1,000 every week for the kind of care she got. So, you know, all the doctors, most of the doctors in the Caribbean are trained in America and the UK. You know what I mean? So their training is no different. You know, I had a health scare back in 2018. I had emergency surgery. I had to wait, I think, 5 months or 4 months to have my surgery. If I was in Guyana or in Grenada or in Jamaica, because of my financial circumstances, I'd have had my surgery the next day. You know, as a repatriate, what you do, you find yourself in a different social circle than most people who are living in a society. So within that social circle you find yourself in, you meet people who make your life a lot easier. And I can speak with a lot of authority in Barbados, Jamaica, Grenada, and Guyana. I spent a lot of time in those 4 places. So, I mean, if you want to retire comfortably and enjoy the lifestyle of the rich and the famous, that TV show we had several years ago, you might want to rethink what you're doing, and living in the GTA is not it. You know, if the Caribbean is not your thing, then go to Florida, right? I'm currently in Jacksonville, Florida, right? I mean, you know, I was telling Dr. Vibe a few weeks ago when we spoke the last time. You know, I drive a convertible. I haven't had my top up in my car since I brought it down here 3 months ago, right? There's almost 300 days of summer. I mean, I haven't had any rain in Jacksonville since I've been here. You know, I mean, the odd sprinkle here and there. So the quality of life is so different, right? You know, it's when I finish here, I'm going to take off my tie, take off my jacket. You know, I got another call with another colleague later on. I put a T-shirt on and have a beer and talk to him, because that's the life I want. And I road map my life for myself. It's not easy. It's a challenge. But I started to think a certain way from since I was in my 20s. I want to retire at 50. And as Tim Frey said, retirement doesn't mean you stop working. It means that I do what I want to do, but I don't have leisure. So I can travel frequently because I enjoy traveling. I can pick my camera up and go and take some shots in the middle of the day while somebody's punching a clock somewhere else. But you have to decide as an individual where it is you want to go and what you want your life to look like. We can sit here and talk and share all these stories and tell you all this stuff, but yeah, it's up to you, right? You have to determine what you want the best years of your life to look like when you get there. Right? I mean, I turned 60 this year and I'm enjoying it. I got a colleague who started playing soccer again. You know, because he plays in the over 50 league. I'm thinking, man, I'm just going to play soccer again. I haven't played in like 10 years, right? But it's leisure. That's the goal in life. It's not about, you know, the money is great, but what you really want is leisure. And you need a bit of money to have the leisure. Everybody is different. If you're an antique car guy, then you need a lot of money. But if you're going to buy yourself a nice 10-speed bicycle and ride around every day in your bicycle and go put a little basket in front, you may need less money than the guy who's collecting antique cars. But you're doing what you want to do. And that is what is important for us. And find your team, you know what I mean? If you own property in the GTA or anywhere in North America or the Caribbean, you want to get into the estate planning stuff. You want to talk to a life insurance advisor. You want to talk to an estate lawyer. You want to talk to a mortgage guy to determine if they can reverse mortgage or not. And then find those people together, make sure they're in sync, they're on the same page, and chart your future, chart your retirement.
I think that is a great way to end it all off. Man, this is better than I even thought it was going to be, and that's why it's only going to happen every few months. So people got to take it in. Ray's contact information is there at the bottom. I've also shared it in all the comments sections on all the platforms people are watching. Wayne's contact information is there, also shared on all the platforms that this is being shared out to. Wayne, I know I'll see you in a few weeks back on First Fridays.
Financial First Fridays. Yes.
Pardon me, financial First Fridays. Maybe
you had one job, Bob. One job.
No problem. You know what? First, but the thing is, may that go for 30 years.
Nice.
All right. But gentlemen, I want to say thank you for taking the time. I will just read some last comments before we let you go. Oh my gosh. Heather Harris says there are Poro societies in some African nations. Mignon Cam says, quote, a budget is telling her money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Quote by John Maxwell. Fitness IQ Cam says partnership is ideal. Mignon Cam says people are living to 100 and longer, even the ones with bad lifestyle habits. Heather Harris says, indeed, Ray, you have to have the money for healthcare in the Caribbean. Mignon Cam says, I've scheduled nurse care to be up at my coming appointment, but it's a lot cheaper than I thought. She also says, retired is where cattle is set free. Farming word. Why? I don't understand that. And then Heather Harris says quality of life. There was one other thing, though, that Mignon Cam said a way back about people, something about people who are like lifelong renters.
Mm-hmm.
I got to see it, but do you have any comments on that, gentlemen? Lifelong renters.
Yeah. So when you're a lifelong renter, you don't have any equity. If you don't have any equity, you're at the mercy of your landlord and the rental increases that they can bring to you. So if you're lucky enough to have a low rent, not rent controlled, but you're in a building where you can control the downside and you're not under any stipulations on what you can earn, this is where you can use that fixed cost of rent and you can load up on your investments in the right buckets. Remember, there's 3 buckets we have right now. 2 are tax free, and 1's tax free, and 2 are tax deferred. So tax deferred means you don't pay tax now, you pay tax later. This is the first time homeowner savings account in Canada. This is the RRSP in Canada, and the tax free savings account is tax free. If I'm a renter and I do not have any stipulations from the government that I cannot save, I'm maxing out the tax free savings account. Everybody on here, if you're in Canada and you make more than minimum wage, even if you do make minimum wage, but if you have any money left over, you want to stack the tax-free savings account because you're in total control of that account versus having to put money in and get a little tax rebate from the government and then the government forcing you to take money out whether you need it or not at age 71. That boomeranging of the RRSP, if you're not making over $80,000 a year, honestly, probably not in your best interest. Tax-free savings account in Canada, Roth IRA in the United States. Here's what I'm going to say. Last point. A lot of people have life. We all have life, right? But that means you have time, but you may not have money. Then a lot of people have style. These are the professionals. They're out there working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. They have money, but they have no time. What we're trying to do is create, between Ray and I and Dr. Vibe, lifestyle, where you got time and money. Ray had time and the ability to go and watch his kids do what they had to do. That's lifestyle. Time, money, and control. If you want to be in control, get with Ray, get with myself. If you want to be, lick your finger and see which way the wind's blowing and figure it out when you're 65, God bless you. But Ray and I and Dr. Vibe are here to give you the tools, the techniques, and you provide us with the reasons what you want, why you want what you want, and we will put together the plan for you to achieve it. And we will work on that plan as iterative. So it's not a one and done. Every 6 months, every year, we'll talk and we'll see where you're at as compared to where you want to go. And we'll close the gaps or steady as she goes. So thank you, Ray. Thank you, Dr. Vibe. I appreciate you and all the guests who came on today.
Fantastic. I'll leave with 2 last things. First of all, I, many years ago, graduated from a Rites of Passage elder program, which was very valuable. And For everyone out there, I was chatting with an 80-year-old gentleman the other day, and I'm going to leave with this statement. He asked me, do you have less stress in your life now than 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Right. So I just leave with that, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Family, we ain't going to be doing this for another few months. So if you didn't catch it live, you better catch the replay, and even better, contact them. Take care, Wayne. Take care, Ray. Thank you so much. All right. Huge conversation today, everyone. Epic. You better catch the replay. Even if you caught it live, I would advise you catch the replay too. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. So let's get everything going here. So we got a long list, and thanks to everyone who watched this live, especially, and also on the replay. So let's do a little things here. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Also, special ask. If you're not following me on YouTube, please subscribe. I want to get to 1,500 subscribers. Next up, to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I appear on, please email me dr.vibe@thedrbeshow.com. Join the Morning Vibe Discord group. Email me dr.vibe@thedrbeshow.com. Again, catch replays on many places, including Indie Soup Media. Live tomorrow night, primetime Saturday with Aisha and Lala will be Lala Key and special guest Dr. Tachi. Also this Sunday, Black Canada Talking with Cesar Nadima Musa and myself. Coming up on this Monday show, we're going to be asking, do blacks, that's wrongly worded, do blacks have the, let me just correct that. Let me correct that, because I don't like the way I put that. So do that in real life. There we go. Let's correct that. Let's do that. Say this, do blacks have the ability to solve our problems? And then the second part, have blacks shown the ability to solve our problems? All right. So other than that, this is where you can get a hold of Ryan. Oh, that's Ray. I said Ray. I'm so excited because this went so well today. So let's do this. Website, Ryan Oneil Knight for Ryan. LinkedIn, Ryan Oneil Knight. Instagram @Ryan.Knight99, and email work with me at RyanOneilKnight.com. And the places you can get a hold of me: website, the drbeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, the Dr. Vibe Show, Instagram @the Dr. Vibe Show. That's THEDRVIBESHOW. X/Twitter @DRVIBESHOW, and email dr.vibe@the drbeshow.com. And finally, we'll do it really quick. You can watch replays of this show on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, Afro Caribbean Business Network, Facebook and YouTube, and then finally, Ryan Oneil Knight, YouTube and LinkedIn. That's it. That's all. I think we got one more comment. All right. I think we are done. Let me just check. Yes, Heather Harris says, peace. All right. All right. So, as always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions. Then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember to give yourself grace, and don't just manage your time. Manage your energy. God bless. Peace to you all. Keep the faith. Walk good. And remember, subscribe, share, tell other people about us. God bless. Peace to you all. Keep the faith and walk good.